Hello again, and welcome to Political News, Political Views. I'm the news, here's the views. One point that was brought up before I get into my usual spiel is that Ryan noticed that we came patriotic today. Red, white, and blue. Yeah, I didn't notice that, but he did, so I figured I'd let you know. Not that it makes any difference. Anyway, no teleprompters, no cue cards, no idiot boards, just straight whatever comes out of our mouths, conversation. And
sometimes that might not be good.
Well, there's been a few, but tonight we'd like to talk about political parties. That's going to be the topic. How long we stay on that topic is yet to be determined. Todd is on your right. I'm on your left, and we have a mediation here, which is good.
Mediation.
Yeah, because, one thing I would like to bring up, this is a side note, and it's something that I've been using now for the last few years. On your phone, whether it be an Android or a Apple, is the news app. Right here. Now, I constantly go to that to see what's going on, and I would suggest to everyone, especially now, at this particular moment, with what's going on with stock market, coronavirus, and all of what's going on, I think that one of the things that we try to push here is that people stay informed and know what's going on. We've complained about politicians, which we kind of self-deprecate each other because we are politicians, Todd and I. Ryan hasn't taken the plunge yet, but the thing is, whatever these people do, you got to live with it and you got to pay for it. And now, the circumstances that are happening are affecting your lives more than you can imagine. Where they go, we have no idea. But one of the things that bothers me, and it grinds me every now and then, is that when I was running, I would be forthright with people. And I lost. Okay, I lost. Sometimes fair and square, not too many times. Sometimes just other ways. And the thing that bothered me is when I see these jackasses on TV and I listen to them and I think, I lost, you voted for that, and the stuff that comes out of their mouths is like.
I think on the part where you were overly honest on it, I don't know if I should say overly, but you were honest with them.
I was straight up.
I think nowadays you hear media and other talk shows, they say the politicians need to be more honest. The problem is, I don't think the people in America are really all that for the honesty. I think a lot of it is, what is our government going to give me? Not what we can do to help our government get through and make things right for the people, but what is the government going to give us? I think a lot of the people in America look at it that way. What are we going to gain from electing this person?
Well, one thing that was easy for me is I said the same thing unless new information came in. If new information came in, I updated. But if you believe in something and you tell the same story, or you have ethics and morals in that, and you stay on target with that, it's easy because you don't. My memory's not so good that if I'm telling all these lies, I can't remember who I told them to.
That's the problem with lies in the beginning, right?
What lie did I tell you? Or the last time?
Yeah.
Oh, you told me you were for abortion. Yeah. Okay.
Hey, no, don't use that one on me because I'm not for abortion. Don't go there.
I can't even write down my passwords.
There's a President Lincoln quote that's something to the close effect of that. No man has a good enough memory to be a truly excellent liar.
And that's true because you have to continue to lie in order to keep the lies going. Eventually you forget where you left off, and then the truth comes out.
But why do they do it? What is politics but a surrogate for war? What is war but deception? I mean, apart from the moral stance, in which I think you're entirely correct, if everyone could be honest actors out there, but it's not to their advantage unless they can be held to account for the things that they misstate. And if they are getting away continually without that disadvantaging to them, then they have every incentive and every advantage to continue lying.
Well, one of the things that with you mentioning that is all these people in the revolution that fought. Now, if you've ever been to Fort Michilimackinac, did you ever see them load those guns with those pellets?
Right.
I mean, if one of those hits you, it's gonna blow a hole in you. And
You're talking about the musket balls.
yeah, one of the things that always fascinated me with the Revolutionary War and the Civil War is how they charged. They would run into a volley of these bullets or these pellets, and it's like, why would you do that? But then we have politicians that will stand up there and haven't got the guts to tell the truth because they're trying to protect their damn ass for the money, for their position. And I'm going to go after you because this topic of tonight's discussion is the Republican Party and the Republican
Now, wait a
senators.
minute. I'm still a Democrat,
Well,
but I do have the habit of looking at both sides. Doesn't matter if it's Republican or Democrat. I will look at both sides of the story.
Well, in this case, I have to agree with you on that because there's good and bad on both.
right.
And
Well, not only that, for every story that's coming out, it doesn't matter who the politician is. I like to look at both sides of it. I like to look at the liberal side of it and the conservative side
Yeah.
of it. Not just the parties, but of that individual. Because you'll have conservative news channels report it this way, and you'll have liberal news channels reporting it a completely different way. But so when I see that, then I go and I get on the internet and I'll look up multiple different perspectives of that same story. Then when I see parts that crisscross and come together, then I know where the truth is.
But the thing is, they've gotten into their encampments, and I criticize Democrats just as bad
Yeah.
because if something is wrong, it's wrong. And if you can't tell the difference between right and wrong, you have no business being there.
That's an issue that we have in Washington altogether.
Lansing.
And Oliver
And-
Lansing. Any of our capitals, let's put it that way, with the government officials and all that, I think that's one of the major issues right there. We have problems with them not being able to tell what's right and wrong. We have problems to where what they're doing is only trying to benefit their parties, and they forget the hell with the rest of the people and their constituencies. You know, Washington, they forget the rest of the country, and Lansing, they forget the people of Michigan.
Yes, President Obama was very fond of pointing out the tribalism inherent in politics, and he was right, although he directed his criticism towards the Republicans, and you look at it and you think, how the view must be from your glass house, sir. Because it was certainly both parties, and
Well, it
certainly
is.
both have entrenched themselves utterly.
We've done something on previous shows that we might as well have a little fun with this. We would name 3 people in the Democrats or Republican parties that are exceptional. And then you can name your biggest jackass later. But I mean, for me, if I had to pick 3 Republicans, one that comes to mind now because of his guts, and I wouldn't have picked him before, but I will now, Mitt Romney. That took a lot, I'm sorry, it took a lot of guts to
interesting.
do what he did.
Was it?
Whether it was, he
I
saw
think it's
right
more-
and wrong.
Personal
I think
animus.
it's more. I
Okay,
can't
let
think
me-
of the word. Go ahead and I'll let you finish. I'll
Let's
think of
put
the
it-
word I'm looking. Asinine.
Let's put it
Personal
at
animosity,
things,
perhaps?
Yes.
at things that
Mitt
were
Romney
exceptional.
has flip-flopped so much. I mean, he was what, the senator in Massachusetts.
Yeah,
Now he's a senator in Utah.
yeah.
He wants to throw his religion out there in front of what his answers are to the situations. You can keep that personal as morals and live by them. I don't have a problem with that. But don't use your religion, to me, as the reason for you to answer the questions the way you are.
Yeah, but there's a lot of
because
people who do that.
his own constituency in Utah is against what he did.
That's not what I heard.
Yeah, he's got a
And
huge.
that came from Bill Weld. Bill Weld said that what he heard was that the people of Utah are firmly behind him.
Well, that's because of the news app you use on your phone instead
Bill
of going
Weld is a
through all the other
Republican.
ones too.
No, this app is neutral.
There's no neutral apps.
No, this one is. It just reports each.
What each news channel is?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so they speak for themselves. It's just a place where you can go. Okay, another thing that, another one, John Kasich, I think is a good.
I like John Kasich.
Now, I got a tie for the third one because it's kind of funny. Bill Weld, who's running against Trump, I like. He
I
seems.
don't know nothing about him.
He was I think he was a governor of Massachusetts.
The man who'd probably charge a bear.
No, he was the vice president candidate in the party.
Oh, for the U.S. Taxpayer Party. No,
Libertarian.
Libertarian.
Yeah.
With
Johnson.
Johnson?
Yeah, was it Johnson?
No. Gary Johnson.
Gary
Yep,
Johnson.
yep.
Now, Weld had sense.
He was actually more, I thought
Yeah.
he was better than
Yeah,
Gary Johnson.
yeah.
That
And,
was the one with the Aleppo.
Okay, but the other one would be John McCain. And I say this because John McCain did something that really caught my eye when that woman said, well, Obama is a Muslim, we don't want a Muslim. He took that microphone from her and he said, no, he's a good man. We just happen to have differences of opinion. That was class. That is what I would have voted for him. So, your turn.
I hadn't given any thought to which politicians I have a particular fondness for. But I will say this to the point on Romney. It was almost inevitable that he and Trump would be opposite polarities. Not only in their natures and how they present themselves, but can consider just that, the ways in which they conduct themselves. That Romney is this arguably very milquetoast person, but he's also very stately. He's always very clean lines. You know, he presents himself quite well. Yeah. And as a politician, like to hear him speak, sometimes you think, man, here is this consummate man who sits there and, well, not even in the negative connotation, but he's very stately in how he presents and how he says things. He gets up there and he gives a very sincere concern of his opinions. And then you have Trump, who walks into the arena like he's the bad guy in a wrestling match and starts throwing chairs. And and I think on some level it's got to gull him. That's the formula that worked.
Well, Romney.
You got to remember, the majority of our politicians are, I don't want to say incestuous because that's a bad word for it, but I mean, you got Mitt Romney. I'll use him as an example. I mean, his entire family's been in politics for decades. I mean, George Romney was the governor of Michigan.
Yeah.
You know, and you got, well, even Gretchen Whitmer. She's been in politics now, 15, 16 years. Before that, her father, Richard Whitmer, ran Blue Cross Blue Shield, which has always been a political base over there in the medical field for Michigan and all the other states. I mean, I don't know too many of them that haven't grown up with a silver spoon in their mouth, so to speak.
Well, that's one of the things with a lot of them. They have no idea what we go through. Now, the three of us sitting at this table, none of us are,
wealthy.
All three of us put together wouldn't equal wealthy.
Right.
We wouldn't even come up to the line. But we're like everybody else. For me, I live check to check, and sometimes I'm a couple of checks behind. That's just the way it is. I work just as hard as anybody else, but this is what it is. This is life. And I do look at some of the houses and what people do. What the hell do you do for a living? You make so much money.
There was an animated graphic that would be wonderful for anyone to check out. It's actually put out by Mother Jones. It's on their site. And it takes a series of squares. And it starts with a square, something about a median income. And then it says, okay, now this is the next square. And it gets larger and larger. And it's showing exactly how much money Michael Bloomberg actually has. And it keeps going. And there's the entirety of Fox's his programming budget, and there's $15,000 a month since the beginning of humanity, and it keeps going and going, and then eventually gets the Bloomberg way out here, and it makes you appreciate exactly how much money that man actually has at his disposal.
So you don't have any politicians?
Any politicians? I like politicians who are disruptors. I have to say I do like antagonists. Or not, antagonist is the wrong word because it has such a negative connotation to it, but one thing that I really like about Bernie Sanders is that he forces the politics to reassert itself, to say, okay, well, what is it are we really about? Are we going to go through the same motions all the time? No, we're not. We're going to say, okay, well, this is just, he's got these people behind him, this is this movement, this idea, and that's why democracy exists, to test these ideas.
Okay, but
in the arena.
I got to ask you something, because you'd probably know better than Todd or me. The term socialism right now, democratic socialist. Okay, now the first
It's
thing
a mushy term.
There is no such thing as a Democrat socialist.
Well, I'm just going by what's in
just
the
because
media.
of what he calls himself.
Yeah,
He's,
okay,
he's
well-
actually an independent.
Well,
Democrat.
I think I listened to Fox News one day and I quickly turned it off.
No, he calls
that's all.
himself that.
Okay, all right,
He very
well,
much does.
self-proclaimed.
Superman calls himself Superman too. Actually, he calls himself Donald Trump. Anyway, back
was
to,
good.
Back to business.
That was
yeah,
good.
Yeah, back to business. But the term socialist, for most, goes right back to Mother Russia.
For most people exposed to it in its inceptions when it was a force in the world.
Okay, so now what I'm asking you is to explain, because I can't, explain what it means now. What is exactly is he talking about?
It's a word that has become one in which there are different perceptions, and that's where we're having some really significant conflict. You have, so like you saw Chris Matthews get very upset about the prospect of Sanders winning, and it was because he was throwing out things because he was remembering the horrible things Castro did, and he actually got up there and he said, look, we were all on Castro's side to begin with, and then he started executing people that disagreed with him, and so he's remembering these awful things that happened under Castro's regime. So people who lived through when these regimes were powerful socialist regimes and did horrible things, they look at socialism and they remember that, and they remember that piece of history. That's not what is being argued for by Sanders' base now. They're seeing a socialism that have not experienced any of that. Those were either, if not gone entirely, utterly gutted by the time that their modern political memory. So when they see socialism, they see the stuff that Bernie Sanders likes to trot out, even though they're not technically socialist. You're kind of socially liberal, heavy government investment services provided, social services provided by countries like Denmark is his very favorite, but many of the countries in Europe, that they have a very different structure with how they do things. To them, that is socialism. So you're seeing two different socialisms because you're seeing through two different lenses, and that's where a lot of our disconnects
So
come
it's the
from.
time frame.
Well, first off, with Denmark has reached out to
so
Bernie
it's not.
Sanders' campaign.
So stop doing that.
Stop using them as an example because they are not a socialist country.
They aren't.
They have socialized medicine, is what all these European countries have. They are all capitalist countries. Every last one of them are actually, some of them are more capitalist than we are, but their economies aren't anywhere near the size of ours. And this frustrates me when Bernie goes on a spiel about his social. He's preaching socialized medicine and socialized education. Our education is already socialized, the public school system. That's socialized, okay? But it doesn't go to the extent that Bernie wants. Bernie wants free college, free health care. Well, the term free, we all know, because where most of us are adults with common sense, there's no such thing as free.
Yeah, nothing's
But
free.
the thing that is going to burn Bernie is the fact that eventually he's going to have to come out and tell us what it's going to cost. He doesn't know what it's going to cost. All right, he stated that, and he wants to put something into place that he doesn't even know what it's going to cost. My suggestion to Bernie, you want to keep utilizing Denmark, Sweden, Canada, and all these. Look at their tax base. Look what their taxes are.
Yeah, Canada.
And then convert that to the U.S. Because I've had people argue with me on this because this is a valid point. Every one of these countries, including Canada, is 44% tax
Yeah.
in Canada. Sweden and Denmark are 44 to 60%. The average cost for all these tax bases that he keeps utilizing is 50%. Okay? There's not one U.S. citizen that's of middle age I'm going to utilize, because there is millennials that are willing to do this, but they haven't really gotten a job or done anything. They don't agree with us wanting to pay 50%. I mean, there's no way in hell I want to go to work, and I'm just going to use a low number just to make this viable. For every $100 I make, I'm not going to give the government $50 of it, and I take $50 home, because the economy isn't going to go down under a socialist system. I mean, granted, the government takes control of under a real socialist system, the government takes control of our manufacturers, of an industry. They take control of the economy, basically, so that they can create taxes to pay for these things. All right, Bernie was asked on, was it, I don't remember, I didn't watch the last debate, but the one before that, he was asked directly, you know, you have a plan to cover $10 trillion of this socialized medicine. Where are you going to come up with the other $25 trillion for the next 10 years? You know, these are things that we need to, as constituents or people of the country, need to think about.
Oh,
Well, then I'm going to
Because,
ask.
go ahead.
Obamacare, socialized medicine, similar, different?
different.
Okay. So then Obamacare now, something I read in one of the papers, is more popular now than it was when Obama was in office.
But they still don't have the full findings behind Obamacare. The only thing that I agreed with on Obamacare when I was running for governor for Michigan in 2018 is the fact of my mind went blank.
Pre-existing conditions.
I agree with the pre-existing condition clause in there. Nobody should be not allowed to have health insurance because of their pre-existing conditions. I agree with that. The thing that I didn't agree with Obamacare was when we went to the sites, and I've talked to you about this before, we go to the sites and we see a portion of what's being paid, the part that we're supposed to pay. Okay, in other words, $300, $400, $500, $600 a month for a family. Or individual was, I think it was like $175. Okay, what we're not seeing is the subsidies behind that insurance. These are the other taxpayers paying for our health insurance. Okay, this is I place it that way because yes, it's the federal government who's paying these subsidies to these insurance companies, not to the people. They're paying it to the insurance companies, because the insurance companies want to boo-hoo after they've bled as much money out of our families as they can. They want even more from the federal government. And I've used this perfect example before over an MRI. I've said this to you before. You go up there with Medicaid to get an MRI, they charge Medicaid just under $500. You go up there with Medicare for the same MRI, they charge just under $700. You go up there with Blue Cross Blue Shield, Humana, or any of these third-party insurance companies, for that same MRI, they're billing between $3,000 and $5,000. Now, you can go out to Basha in Royal Oak and get that same MRI for $250 cash. So the market is there to do it, but these subsidies for our health insurance, we need a plan, not socialized medicine, because we can't afford that. I can't.
It would be very difficult. Oh, absolutely. It'd be a huge strain.
I mean, and you know, when he goes out there and starts bringing a list of all these countries out there that have socialized medicine, there's more people in the United States than all these countries combined, nearly.
I think the conservatives...
California has more people than Canada does.
Mm-hmm. A technical error, at least, I think the conservatives make is they say things to the effect of, well, if we instituted socialized medicine, it would mean the end of the insurance industry. And to which...
Bernie's plan does.
Yeah, oh, it absolutely would. And they're entirely right. I'm not saying they're wrong when they say that. I'm saying there are many Americans out there who would be like, good. You know, they'd be let it burn, and that's a certain.
But
there's a certain psychology in that
of us.
because they've paid so much, but they don't see the repercussions of that, which is what you're
Right.
getting at.
The majority of us who have our third-party insurances, the majority, not all of us, like our insurance. And again, these are people who their jobs are helping pay their insurance. We're not paying the full amount, and people don't think about it that way either.
Yeah, but see, that was one thing with kids now, and probably with Bernie, is that when my father was coming up, he worked for Twin Pines, he worked for Boyne Mountain, and they paid all his insurance, and they paid all the insurance for the family. He didn't pay anything out of his pocket. If he did, I didn't know. But now, even on our jobs, we pay a portion, and now we pay high deductibles. So more and more and more we pay, less and less and less the insurance pays, even though the employer is paying. What they're giving us, though, is you can get good insurance if someone's going to pay for it. But for those that have a $5,000 deductible, and then
They never really
co-pays,
use it.
No,
and
you're
then
going
you
to
pay.
just tough it out.
You pay, yeah. So the insurance companies are coming out pretty good.
The insurance companies are coming out really good. In 2018, the insurance industry made $80 billion profit.
But
Wait a
But
minute.
now
You mean they
now
made more
here's-
than
you
Bloomberg?
said years ago, and I agree
No,
with you on
not
this.
more than Bloomberg.
The companies we worked for paid the majority or all of our health care. Okay, the only companies that I know of right now that do this are very few. The big three, they pay 97% of their employees' health care insurance. Holland Trucking to this day pays 100% of their health care insurance. Okay. I'm not going to go into this, but if I decide to run for governor again, I'll blast this all out there in the open
clearly
for the
you
people.
you have a very deep commitment to this topic.
It's very.
I have to just to clarify. You know, when I brought up Mr. Sanders to begin with, the reason I like him, and well, and even like's not even entirely the correct word. The reason why I'm glad to see him in politics, and to some extent the true of Mr. Trump, is that they overturn everything, and they force these ideas to be in this furnace of democracy that we have, where we have to turn them over and say, what do we really want our country to be about, rather than some very play it safe politicians who are just going to say, okay, well, I want to make sure I get reelected, and this guy I want to make sure we get reelected, so we're just going to have this safe little game that goes back and forth and seems to go nowhere. And I think that's how we got Trump, really, is that people see that. And it's not so much that I think this guy's a great guy, because he's a huge jerk, but
here's a question.
his mere existence causes other people to the process to work better, as long as the process is allowed to work.
Let's just take this hypothetical. What if McCain had not thumbs down and Trump had won? What type of insurance would we have had now?
I've never really dug into.
It didn't
Trump's-
happen,
That's
so
almost
we.
an
Yeah, I didn't
alternate
get-
history.
He never
really-
had he never had a plan, except he
They
wanted.
had the Republicans had a plan.
No, they
It-
didn't.
Yes, they did. They put forward 3 different plans, but it never came to fruition because it was never passed.
Now, wait a
But
minute.
there was Republican bills for health insurance.
The Republicans, from what I understood, never had a plan. They had a theory, but they never had a
They
plan.
actually had written out plans. 3 of them. All you got to do is go back and research the Republican.
Well, I'll have to go and research because I never saw any of them.
Go back
But
and look
what I
at
was
it.
curious of is if it had happened the way
But-
Trump had wanted, what I was thinking is that he wanted more capitalism with it, that insurance companies could cross state lines, and
That's
but
what the
what
talk
I
was.
was seeing was I was wondering, okay, is that going to turn out to be the insurance big 3, or like the airlines where one company owns all these others, and then we're at their mercy, because like even with the auto industry or the auto insurance, I brought up when they charged me the $400 user fee. And
I remember you telling me that.
When I got pissed off about that, he said, well, you can go to any insurance company you want. We all do it. So this is something that you
They
all...
don't all do it. But
Well,
see, you're right on the fact that Trump was trying to bring in competition from all the states. The trucking industry is regulated by the Fed, not the states. Okay? Now, That's like even with Michigan being marijuana friendly or legal, I should say, the truck drivers still can't smoke it.
Well, there's got to be rules in there. I mean,
There is
liquor is but you don't see them down there with old granddad.
No, but a truck driver can stop at a truck stop and have a beer if they sell it.
Well, hell yeah.
Not go out and drive.
You can go out to the gas station and get a beer.
Well, I'm just saying. Well, trucks don't stop at the gas stations, okay, most of the time. We stop at truck stops. But we can't go out there and smoke a joint.
I always get a kick out of it. You're not supposed to drink while you drive, yet you can go to the gas station and get some beer. Well, might as well pick up a 12-pack while you're filling up.
Well, that's where they're hoping our morals keep them, and law-abidingness keeps us honest.
Well, now we're getting back to morals. I don't think we should go there.
Your original topic, though, you wanted this about political parties, and
Yeah,
that was
that's
such a
what we
broad
were-
topic.
and like I said, you never know what comes up.
I'm so very dearly curious as to what your objective with this topic is.
Well, it was looking at the candidates. You brought up Bernie, so that's one thing leads into another. So, who would be your other choices as getting back to?
To see. Well, who will I vote for in a primary?
Who would you,
I'll wait.
if you had to vote, if you could pick who you would like to run? Because one thing that I've noticed, the good people don't run; they're too smart. It's better to stay in the background. And I think John Dingell was one of them. John Dingell could have been Speaker of the House many times over, but chose not to. He had more impact in the background than he did as Speaker. Some of the speakers went through a lot of hell. Boehner was one.
There's all the Republican health care plans. They're all over the internet. Like I said, all you have to do is look. But I'm just showing you.
Yeah. Oh, no, I'm gonna look that up because we want people to look this stuff up so you do understand. Just because we bring it up, maybe if I don't know. This is
I didn't mean to interrupt. I just wanted to show you.
There's no other.
Do I have a candidate I particularly like?
Well, I mean, pick out anyone that you want. Someone that you would respect as a politician. Someone that you would.
That's hard, Dave. I don't.
Well, you don't have many
I don't
choices.
generally think through in those terms. Right. I prefer to be more about the ideas of things and people, and that may be a wishy-washy answer, but it's
like I said, Kasich,
it's the hill I choose to die on.
Kasich, none of them are perfect, but I think Kasich was one that caught my eye too late.
He had good morals. That's what caught my attention about Kasich.
He wasn't obnoxious. He wasn't full of himself. He seemed to focus on the task at hand. He wasn't.
But he was a Trump hater.
No, it wasn't.
Well,
it wasn't that. Well, hell,
I'm not even a Trump hater. I don't agree with
No,
what he
I
does.
am.
I know you are.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. We'd never guess that about you,
No, wait a
Dave.
minute, the show's only an hour long. I mean, we haven't got time. We would have to segue.
But a lot of that comes from what a lot of people I've talked to about Trump haters. They hated him before he was president.
Well, yeah, he was an asshole.
Something you brought up to me earlier. So you would say that Trump should have his very own party.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, Trump should have, because the Republican Party doesn't exist anymore. You've got the Trump Republican Communist. I don't know what his fascination...
Where the hell did the communists come from?
His fascination with China, with autocrats, with Putin. Come on.
Wait a minute. Bernie's the same way. Bernie's been praised. He's praised Fidel Castro for his educational program.
I have no idea where the hell Bernie is, but I will say that
he honeymooned in Russia.
Okay, well,
he loves and he's praised good things about China too.
Wait, so Trump had deals going with Putin.
I have never seen that. Those are other people. Tillerson and them all had their own little things going.
Tillerson was the CEO of ExxonMobil.
Yep.
ExxonMobil had an agreement with Putin and Russia to run 65% of their oil fields.
Yep.
Obama put the sanctions on.
Right.
Tillerson, even though he lied and said, well, I never went to see Trump, forgot that he signed the book when he went in.
Right.
Okay, so he was there and he did talk to Obama. Obama would not remove the sanctions.
Right.
Now, Trump was in on that.
Trump was in on what?
On that deal. Trump was getting money out of it.
Of removing the sanctions?
No, of the oil deal.
Of removing the
sanctions.
sanctions.
And that's on the oil deal. That deal was done well before Trump became president.
I have not seen the link there. I know you bring Trump into a lot of things, and I understand, because this is the hatred for the one man.
This isn't the hatred. This is fact. Tillerson.
I have not ever found that, and
Tillerson
I did look that up.
And the same thing with the situation that was in, was it North Dakota?
With the pipeline?
Yeah, and Trump had money in that. He took that and he gave it and put it under someone else's name, and then he went in and took everything away from what Obama was going to do, because he was bringing the Army Corps of
Trump took away the
Engineers.
regulations to help
Trump
build
had
our economy.
money in on it.
Yeah, Trump's probably got money in on a bunch of stuff. Okay?
Okay.
But again, you stated it was before he was president.
When Trump became president and he said that he trusted Putin over his own intelligence.
I would have at that point, too. I said that just to get your attention. Look, it got it.
You got it.
Did you see that look? It just froze.
Oh, yeah. His eyes
He-
just turned to fire.
First of all,
Hey, I've been known as the antagonist on
the
the show
Republicans,
anyways.
the Democrats are the enemy of the people. The press is the enemy of the people. But Putin's a nice guy. Putin would.
He's a nice guy, but I wouldn't trust him as far as I can throw.
Putin is supposedly,
Unless you're
allegedly,
Ukrainian.
the richest man in the world at $200 billion.
Who's that?
Putin.
Maybe I should get him to help my election.
All right. Anyway, my point is that
I'm just kidding on that. Okay,
his
by the way.
fascination with Putin is, I think, is going to go beyond whatever happens. Okay, now that's part one.
I think his fascination is with the authoritarian.
That's part of it,
leadership.
yeah. But there's also
I mean,
business deals in there.
each and every one of us want to be in charge of something.
Don't make me go.
I'm just saying, you want to be in charge of something. It doesn't mean that you want to be in charge of the country, but you sure to hell, and every one of us would love to be our own bosses. So I'm just saying, it's kind of
the boss. I don't think I'd like me.
it's kind of like, we want to lead our own destiny.
Okay, now we have the Republican, Trump Republican capitalist, who the tax cut really helped out, and the rich 1%. Oh, a lot of them are for Trump because Trump is making them rich. Richard, was it Edelson that gave? He saved so much money on taxes. He gave the Republican Party $300 million donation on Trump's behalf. Okay, well that's nice. So
all these rich people donate to these parties. It's not just Republicans.
Yeah, but what Trump did for them, he sure as hell didn't do for us.
His tax
and the
cut
nice thing
affected me where I had.
The nice thing
gotten a
is
tax cut.
somebody's going to pay. So Bernie, if you're listening out there, tell your little voters that they're going to get to pay that national debt, because Trump will be long
That
gone.
national debt, the majority of that debt so far that's showing up there,
I know,
is from Barack Obama.
But Barack Obama did it at a time that it was necessary to be done, and he's not the first one that's done it.
No.
We were down, and that paid off because a lot of that money was paid back. Yes, the economy came back. Remember what he came into. I'm
not going to deny the recession of 2008.
And the car companies, for just as an example, all with the exception of Ford, because they didn't need any money.
I've never agreed with that. There is no such thing as a company too big to fail. Now, a lot of people don't agree with my opinion on it.
Are you kidding?
No, I'm not. Because what they should have done is they should have done what Ford did.
Yeah.
That's what they should have done.
Well,
for decades, even when I was 18 years old and I worked for General Motors for those 6 months, I told them they could stick their job up their butt, and I walked out because I'm not the stupid. I shouldn't say stupid. I got bored pushing 3 little buttons on the line.
Are you going to tell me that you could have predicted what's happening right now with the stock market a year ago? No.
Because what's happening with the stock market right now is all based around this COVID-19 coronavirus.
Okay, all right. So that's then you have the Republican bullies.
I can guarantee you
the ones
it's going to rebound.
Body slam
eventually.
People who are...
Who?
You mean the Trump body slamming the CNN meme thing?
No, I was talking
Okay.
about the congressman in Montana
Oh.
that body slammed and the name calling. I mean, if I were to say to you that President PP
Okay.
see, I don't see Democrats doing that.
Doing what?
Well, the Trumpster and then President PP and let's see, President Trump's-a-rump. There's no name calling, but
there's
but
name
Trump,
calling on both sides.
Trump's got names
Okay,
for everybody.
but if
Trump
you-
has comments
Yep,
for everybody.
I understand
but
that. I
then
don't
you
agree
have
with-
the real Republicans.
I don't agree with the way he talks
What I
90% of the
told
time.
you-
But you got to realize, if you were being attacked by the opposite party all the time, and you know what, this sucks. I'm
Wait
a
a
Democrat, and I got to sit here and defend this man. But
Wait a
the
minute.
whole thing is, if you were being attacked all the time by the opposition party, don't you think you'd be angry?
His own party. Even in the debates, he didn't bring up one thing. He didn't even know what
the
the
debate,
nuclear
they were-
triad
yeah.
was.
I
He thought it was his daughter.
Well, I'm not going to go there either. That wouldn't be respectful.
No,
But the whole fact
he's
is,
wasn't
even
respectfully.
with
Even
with these,
would you vote for
even
a
with
face
these-
like that to Carly Farina?
I remember that.
Yeah, and
Hey, nobody
Ted
said.
Cruz.
But that's why the people elected him.
Why? Because he's a bully?
No, not because he's a bully. Because he's not the normality that we have in politics.
And we
In
wanted
politics,
that?
That's what you got.
I didn't get it. I didn't vote for that thing.
I did. I admit I did because I wanted real change.
That
and
isn't
I'm a
change.
Democrat.
That's just horseshit.
No, that's change.
That's not change.
That's just like with these impeachment things.
You
and
can
I'm going to
say-
go back and defend him on that.
You and I can.
Impeachment number 2, which was the fact of obstruction of Congress. That's not even a legitimate.
That is
Impeachment.
legitimate.
No, you have the right to go to court and fight a subpoena. Congress did not even give the man the chance to do that. They were in such a big hurry. AOC, right from the time she got elected, let's go to Washington and impeach the MFer.
That
That's
wasn't
the
AOC,
Democratic.
that was the one from
That was
Michigan.
Rashida Tlaib.
Yeah.
Excuse me. But it's still AOC and the squad. It's still the
Well, if it make you
entire
feel any better, I said
Democrat-
it before she did. Anyway, the thing is, there's 3 branches of government. We are so close
are
to
the
being
3 branches?
the executive, the Congress, and the judicial.
Well, it's called the legislation.
Legislative. Yeah. Okay. The thing is,
Because
right
that's
now,
that's
right
the
now,
House
with,
Representative, House
with what
Representatives
those
and Senate.
senators did, even some of them have come out always behind closed doors.
Nothing like
closed
Adam
doors.
Schiff down in the basement.
Oh, that's crap. But Trey Gowdy did the same thing, and he said it was necessary. He did it with Hillary Clinton. And he admitted it.
Hillary. Now, don't get me going with that.
Oh,
queen.
yeah, bring up Hillary Clinton.
You
again.
did. I did. You did. I did. That ice queen never was put under oath.
great.
Wait a minute. She said 18 hours. it was
Not
done.
under oath.
Not under oath.
Not under oath. Look it up.
Okay, after all the investigations that they've done, did they find anything?
No.
They found nothing.
On Trump, no.
No, I'm not talking about Trump. I'm talking about her.
You switched to the ice queen.
No,
on me.
I'm telling you, you brought up Ice Queen. So I said, did they find anything on her? And when I say her, if you want to put Trump in there, okay, fine. That's another name for
Comey
him.
overstepped his boundaries on that.
Okay.
He
then-
should have left that to the AG.
Well, then what did
Lynch.
Ivanka Trump do when she was using her server? How come that was okay? Oh, it's because she was using her server. Do you remember that?
Was she part of our government?
Yes.
Oh, I missed that.
That was last year.
I missed it.
And then
I never heard anything about
using
it.
his phone. They took Obama's BlackBerry away from him.
I was just imagining Hillary Clinton singing "Let It Go" because you kept saying "Ice Queen."
Well,
And so that's where I went.
That's what I voted
Okay,
for
but
her
then-
husband both times.
then here's
I
the-
liked Bill Clinton. I didn't like his escapades in the Oval Office, but
He was horny.
I'm sure there's probably almost every president in the White House has had some strange.
First of all,
Other than
okay.
right now, I don't
No,
know.
no,
Trump
no,
probably
no.
hasn't yet because
No.
she'd make sure
No.
it was gone.
We've been down a rabbit hole.
no. What are you talking about? She's got her own boyfriend in Trump Tower. Look it up on YouTube. He's,
Now
assistant vice
YouTube's
president.
not the
So-
spot to be looking for.
Okay, anyway, the thing is, Then there's the real Republicans.
And
Somehow we're back here.
And we're back.
Let Trump have his own damn party. Let him have his party. Let him have the damn Trump party, and let the Republicans who want to be Republicans, the Reagan Republicans, the Ford Republicans,
They're not,
the
they're not
Roosevelt.
there. Every president,
are you
the
telling me?
party is whoever president, it becomes their party. When Trump leaves office in 2024,
Wait a minute. Even with Bill Clinton, Democrats went against
he
it.
was still, hey, don't go there. I've had a lot of Democrats argue with me and say, well, I'm a Clinton Democrat.
Well, wait a minute. That's fine. But there were
I'm still a Reagan
Democrats.
Democrat, but still.
There were Democrats who condemned Bill Clinton
Yep.
during that time.
Yep. But they were also the
But
ones
not
that
with
bailed
Trump,
him out
because
with the Senate.
but Trump knew that thing was a done deal because Mitch McConnell said so, and it's going back to the communist
Because the
Republican
the
communists.
articles of
Join
impeachment
Mitch
were
McConnell
not
in there.
real.
Mitch McConnell.
They're not legitimate.
Oh, they certainly were. He was hiding stuff, and you know it.
No, I don't know because I'm not in there. But
Oh,
when they
crap.
the obstruction of Congress is not a real legitimate article of impeachment because they jumped all over his constitutional rights for the Fourth Amendment. You have a right to due process, and they took the due process away from him on that article. I guarantee.
How so?
Because he was not allowed to take the subpoenas to court, and the ones that he took to court, the Democrats rushed it through the system. In this case, I never.
There's
believed,
only 7 justices on there.
It doesn't matter how many are on there. They didn't get back with. They did not allow the process to go through.
He had the opportunity to stand up and tell the so-called truth. He didn't. He did everything in his power to obstruct it. You cannot testify. You cannot say anything.
That's his right as executive
No.
powers. Yes.
No. It is not.
All right. So Trump, in your mind, has no right to executive powers. Now, wait.
Executive privilege to a point, but he
It
made
doesn't
it
matter.
a broad thing.
So did Obama. So
okay.
did Bill Clinton. And all of them. They all do it.
So when they're in the stall next to one another talking, that's executive privilege?
Yes.
I don't think so.
Hey, they have the right to whoever they speak to can call it executive privilege as the president. These are his constitutional rights.
He has taken executive privilege and made it more than what it is.
No, he did not. You need to learn to accept that the President of the United States, whether he's Democrat or Republican, they have these constitutional rights. Congress cannot tell the President what he can and
Where
can't
in
do.
the Constitution does it say that?
Article 2.
Article 2 says what?
I believe it's the one. No, that's on
You better look
impeachment.
that one up.
No,
because
but
Article 2
look,
does not
look.
say that he has unlimited power and he can do whatever he wants.
No, it
he
doesn't
still
say that.
answers to the people.
Yes.
He still answers to
that's-
Congress.
No,
He's
before he
supposed
does
to
not.
answer to the judicial.
He does not answer to Congress or the judicial. Each branch
They
is
check
individual.
on each
exactly.
other. Checks
they
and
don't
balances.
answer. They don't answer to each other. The president does not have to answer to the Congress. The only thing Congress can do to slow the president down is they have control of the purse. That's it.
Then how come he can tell the people in there that they cannot testify?
Because that's
They're
under
part
his
of the
executive
branch.
power.
So who comes under the
Everybody in the
person
executive branch.
The judicial
That he
branch
speaks to.
is the tool to check
That
the
he
executive
speaks to?
branch.
Yes.
So, like, the judicial branch is frequently the tool by which we check the executive branch. So, for example, I want to say it was Eisenhower. It was definitely almost preserves Eisenhower. So Eisenhower decided that he wanted to nationalize some coal mines and say, hey, I need these. And so he went to do it, and the Supreme Court said, well, no, you're not quite allowed. You can't just go around nationalizing industries, Mr. President. And he might have not liked that very much, but the judicial branch was able to successfully restrict his power because that's what the judicial branch does. Now, different era, Eisenhower later went to one of the justices, I believe it was the head justice at the time, whose name escapes me, but he says, and they were drinking.
You talking about Warren Burger?
I would have to look,
About
man.
Brown
but
versus Board of Education?
No, this is
Okay.
this is just this nationalization of these coal mines.
Oh,
I'm
okay,
just
okay.
speaking
That was this is a different
specifically to that
situation.
So he and just this funny little anecdote. So he went to this cocktail party with his justice, and he's drinking his very expensive rum or liquor of some kind. And he says, "Well, I might hate your politics, but I love your liquor." which I thought was
Well, I mean, it was the same
speaks
thing
to
with
quite a different era.
Brown versus Board of Education. Eisenhower was dead set against that. And
there
when
you
he
are.
went to Berger, and Berger told him, Mr. President, you do your job, let me do mine.
But
And Brown
that
versus
was the
Board of
Supreme
Education,
Court.
yeah.
Yes.
But your judicial branch is your element by which you would put the executive in check.
Okay, so
and so
Don
in this
McGahn.
impeachment thing, this impeachment thing, that's where it would have been an effective tool. Is if they had gone through the judicial and allowed the judicial, and it would have taken probably until the election because these things
Yes.
take a while. But
Yes
let's be
and
real.
no. It's
but,
a possibility that they would have gotten it out there in a hurry.
that would have been the check against the executive branch, but it wasn't utilized. It was attempted
They
to be.
did. The Congress did not allow it. They rushed the impeachment through because they wanted to feel like they had a win against Trump. They threw everything they could possibly throw at the Democratic Party, and I'm a Democrat. The Democratic Party has felt all along that they can destroy anybody they want, and they usually do. If they choose to destroy you, you're done. Everything they've thrown at Trump has
You keep
not
saying
stuck.
they're destroying him. And,
That was
and all
their
this
goal.
stuff, this Trump hating and everyone's against it. I'm going to ask both of you. When everything seems to go to one focal point, isn't it possible that that focal point is the problem?
It depends on who's doing the pointing. If it was all naturally, if this was all out there all over the place, that this, you could say in this broad aspect that this is all pointing to Trump. But no, you've got the entire Democratic Party pointing these out. They look for anything that he says or does because now they're already talking impeachment again.
So Trump hasn't done anything. Is that what you're saying?
I'm not going to say he hasn't done anything, but he's not
How
done
about
anything
the
that's
situation
impeachable.
with Don McGahn? Because I'm curious about that one. Don McGahn was told by the courts he could testify, and Trump intervened with that.
Well, he used executive power.
No, that did go through the courts, and the courts sided with the Democrats,
Okay.
and that didn't happen. Now,
Because
if
he
what
chose
was said,
not to?
if it was said that was true, what came through the Mueller report? Now, of course, Trump is going to sue Mueller now.
Yeah, I heard about that, but
Yeah,
he
Trump is
probably
going to
won't.
sue everybody. He sues people and he loses. He ends up, just like the last lawsuit that he lost was with his charity, the one that he paid a $2 million charitable contribution. No, it wasn't. You were fined $2 million and your family was told you couldn't be involved in any charities because you used them as piggy banks. But it was
We
Clinton.
can go to the Clinton Foundation for that, too.
Clinton Foundation has been cleared.
Not yet.
You better check.
Not
Clinton
yet.
Foundation has been cleared. Just so everybody see, eventually we are going to have a fact checker here.
Eventually.
And when we do,
Anybody want the job?
yeah,
But you got to be able to deal with us as well. so-
yeah.
And it gets pretty heated sometimes.
The Clinton Foundation has not been found guilty of anything. Okay, good. Look it up. You and I will talk. Anyway.
But actually, to return to the point of the parties, I can see your point that there is certainly a certain aura about Trump that draws a particular alignment to him, as opposed to what we would normally think of Republicans. Certainly, the idea of a small government Republican is an endangered species, if not outright extinct at the moment, because they're on this Trump train, which is a big government train. And so I see that point.
Why
But
are they there?
What do you think? Oh, I mean, many reasons. I think many of them have to do culturally. We have people who really, I think Michael Moore actually hit it on the nose right before the 2016 election. He got up there and he said, "Look, Trump has a really good chance of winning this because he goes out into these small towns where a lot of the national media really hadn't." I said, "People are just pissed off. They're pissed off that
Yeah.
things aren't going well."
Yeah,
And
that is true. True.
And to Michael Moore, who quite probably dislikes Trump quite a bit more than you even, said that to these people, Trump is a brick through the window. He's the Molotov cocktail to
Yes.
the system that's kicking him in the head all the time. I think he was right in that regard.
They bitched to him and he regurgitated it back to him. That's all he did. He made them feel good. Now, that is Democrats and Republicans who did that. Because, and you and I can attest to this, a lot of them, once they get in office, they wouldn't give you the time of day.
Exactly.
There's something to.
Of course, on the other side of that coin, if a politician told me my ass was on fire, I'd ask somebody else.
I remember that.
To draw on another commentator on the opposite side of the spectrum there, Hannity likes to bring up on his show that he owns this painting called The Forgotten Man. And it's this painting of it shows all these various people on this in this group, and Trump's in front of them with his hand out as if to lift up. And you can actually YouTube this. Very easy. No, I mean, but you can with his hand out to show that he in this very egalitarian way, and it's done by this artist who really likes Trump. And so this painting, The Forgotten Man, and you see that same element, that same feeling from Tucker Carlson. They're looking at these groups where, to their mind, what their perception is that, rightly or wrongly, they're saying that Trump is representing the interests of these people who feel that they have been excluded from the system. And Bernie Sanders does the exact same thing. He speaks to people who feel that they have been excluded and ejected from the system. And you notice both of them have very loyal and very potent followings.
I agree 100% with that. He went and listened to what they said, but he didn't. He made promises that basically he couldn't keep.
Who?
Trump. I mean, first of all, let's go with the big one, the biggie, the wall.
It's being built.
Oh yeah.
It's currently being built. What do you want me to say?
Yeah. Trump says it's being built. Well, first of all, they have to put
videos of it on the news being built down there.
He's redoing the walls that were already there. There is, what did they say, 100 miles of new wall. But then the wall down in California blew over, and they're filling in the tunnels. And Vicente Fox
he's still building the wall. It's still being done, whether you want to admit to it or not.
And okay, so he's building the wall, and the Mexicans are just throwing their pesos at it.
I didn't say anything about the pesos.
Well, that would be a sight.
Maybe what we can do is the people with the coronavirus can go down and touch the wall, and they shall be healed. My ass.
That was never said.
That'd be a wonderful wall.
I said that.
I mean,
everyone go to Trump's wall.
If that's what the wall does, then
what
by
we'll
all
do,
means.
we'll all go
I'm going back down there too. Then
we'll pray to the
I
wall.
grow my hair back.
Anyway,
There's only one. There's only one wall to pray to, and that's
we got
Jerusalem.
a problem with that at this table.
Right. But so on the other side of the spectrum, though, AOC got out in front and said, "I can't." Joe Biden and I are basically not in the same party, and that speaks to people. I think. What do you see on the other side of the spectrum? And anyone in terms
Our next show, let's talk about AOC with the Green New Deal. I'm already for that one too.
All right.
Go ahead.
Okay. Unfortunately, we've run out of time, but we haven't run out of things to say.
But I did get Dave's blood pressure up tonight. That was a good thing.
Okay, but the main thing is that we argue, we disagree. I stayed in my chair. I didn't throw it.
You got close there.
But we discuss things. We hope you discuss things, but I do encourage you, one, to get that app on any phone and just stay aware of what's going on, even if you have to look at different news things. And, of course, whoever the Lions are going to draft, well, that's news too. So anyway.
And don't forget, you can reach out to us on Todd and David 2020 at gmail.com.
I know Ryan's in there too.
Yeah, this includes Ryan as well.
Yeah.
But the email is toddanddavid2020 at gmail.com.
TDR. Okay. Have a nice week, and we'll think of something else to say.
Have a good night.
Good night, everybody.
Hey.